Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to Silver Slipper Casino on this beautiful sunny morning. It was quite different from what we went through last night, I'm sure, but I'm glad you all could make it this morning. We're just happy to welcome you here. Always a pleasure to have our friends from Hancock County visit us here at the Slipper anytime, whether it's for a social or a business or whatever. I'm thrilled to be able to be in a position to welcome you today on behalf of our new mayor-elect, Jay Trapani. Let's have a big round of applause for Jay. Just in talking to Jay, you've all known him, but it's very exciting what the vision is for Waveland going forward. And he's really got the energy and the great ideas to kind of put it together. So we're prepared to support the mayor with everything he needs to do in the city of Waveland. I hope you all are too. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Executive Director of the Chamber of Commerce, Tish Williams. Tish.
Thank you, John, and thank you to the team here at the Silver Slipper Casino Hotel. You're always there to support all of the efforts of the Chamber and the business community. And I want to thank all of you for coming out today. I want to recognize our president, Regan King, with John McDonald Realty, who's here with us today. And also I want to thank all of our sponsors who make events like this possible. We have 150 meetings and events every year, and this is one of our most favorite events, thanks to our sponsor, Ted Longo with Longo Group, who've been able to hold these coffee calls throughout the year and bring them to everyone, whether they can attend in person or not. We are live, we are recording, and this will be pushed out as a podcast on Apple, Spotify, and Google, so that if you didn't get to hear everything today, you can go to our podcast and you can hear it later. So thanks to Ian Petrie and our team at the Chamber for making the technology happen. So without further ado, let me just go ahead and turn the mic over to Ted Longo. At the end of the session, we're going to also open it up to the audience for a little Q&A session. So Ted, take it away.
Thank you, Tish, and good morning, everybody. She never stops. It's text and phone calls to all of us all the time. She never stops. So look, good morning. It's a beautiful morning. We're here at the Silver Slipper, and we're definitely glad to have Jay with us. And Jay and I were talking about this a couple of days ago about what we were going to talk about, and we talked way too long. So we've agreed not to go that far. But obviously, yesterday was a very difficult day in our community. Right? We lost 2 police officers, 134, 123, in the line of duty. It's bad for everybody, but those families right before Christmas. So we'd like to take a moment just to remember them and their families at this time. Thank you. All right, you want to have a seat or you want to stay and do this? Oh, good, because I'd rather. Yeah, they're going to. You're being called out of the picture. All right. Well, good morning. And look, first, congratulations.
Thank you.
It's wonderful to have you here. And Jay, this wasn't your first try at this. So, what happened? Did you just decide you didn't want to have a private life anymore? You wanted to finish a grocery list on the first try? Why do you want to be mayor so bad? I'm used to it.
Thanks, Ted. No, this is actually my third try. They say the third try is a charm. So after 2018, I said I was never going to do this again. And originally I got into it because citizens asked me to. I had no desire in my life to be a public official. And citizens came to me back in 2013 and asked me if I would consider running for mayor. And I said, well, I'll start going to meetings. So I started going to all the alderman and mayor meetings. And I said, I think I can help this city. So ran in 2013, did not win. 2014, ran in 2018, did not win. Threw all my signs away. I said, I'm never going to do this again. I gave it 2 good shots and that's it. Well, people started coming up to me on the street, at church, Walmart, and saying, would you try it one more time? I think you can do it. I think the city needs you. They weren't happy with the progress over the past 17 years since Katrina. So I said, all right, I'll talk to my wife, who's sitting in the back over there. And she said, sure you want to do this? And I said, yeah, I want to do it. I think I can really help the city. So went out there and threw my hat in the ring again, and luckily it turned out the way it did.
Well, and look, it was obvious you worked hard. I don't think there's ever been a candidate in Waveland that had more signs out, so you should have kept them in 2018. So you get sworn in on January 3rd. What's the first thing you do next?
Well, actually, I've started already. I have a small cubbyhole office in City Hall, and I started on Monday. I'm not doing 8 to 5. I'm not that crazy, but I will have to do 8 to 5 come January 3rd. But right now, I'm just going in and I'm meeting with each and every city employee. I just want to put a face with a name. I want those people to get to know me. I want to tell them a little bit of my expectations for them as we move forward. So that's where I start, and that's going to take a few days to get that done. I get sworn in January 3rd as our first meeting that night. The next day I have to drive to Jackson. So I'll be in Jackson on Wednesday and Thursday.
Okay. Well, good. Well, let's talk about that. So you're going to be in Jackson. You know, look, there's only three cities in Hancock County. We got the county and then we got the state. What are you going to do to make sure we have the right relationships with those? Because we got 43,000 people in this county. The more we work together, the better.
Well, when I decided to run again, the first thing I did was go out and start meeting with the state legislators and talking to them and asking them, what do I need to do if I am elected to bring some more state funding down to Waveland? We've missed out on some funding for various reasons. That some of them I don't even know the reason, so I can't critique it. But I've already created the relationships. I know I'm going to have to spend a lot of time in Jackson. I'm going to surround myself with some very qualified people that will help me in my absence. But I'll be in Jackson a lot during the session.
Okay. All right. Well, you keep leading us right into the next one. So, all right. There's probably never been more money available in municipalities than there are right now with what this administration has made available, outside of things like disasters and stuff. So how does Waveland make sure we get our fair share of that?
One of the things we need to do is, again, just my opinion, is we have to have a master plan for capital projects. We have some studies going on right now, some drainage studies, but my observation attending meetings is that Waveland doesn't seem prepared. They have a meeting the night before a application is due for a grant. We need to have a master plan of capital projects. We need to prioritize those projects. So there's no last minute, what are we going to do to get this money? We'll know where we are. We'll be laying the groundwork with state officials, and it'll make it a lot smoother.
All right, master plans. They come up every now and then. Mm-hmm. So if you need any of the last ones that are done, I have hard copies that spot you. But when you look at the issues, what do you see as the priority issues that we need to deal with first in our town?
I created a platform, like everybody does when they run for office. And one of the main things that came up as I talked to people, and I actually did a little survey, was public safety. Police staffing has not been the same since Katrina. Crime is on the rise all across the country. Wave was no different. And so we're short a police car on the street. We need to work to fully staff the police department and the fire department. The fire department is down from, we're below the Mississippi Fire Rating Bureau standards. We still have a fire rating of 5, but there's a lot of things that we need to do. On top of that, as I, again, walk the streets, drainage. And as I just mentioned, we have some drainage studies going on right now. Drainage popped up really high. We need to create an economic, a strategic plan for economic growth. Coleman Avenue is coming back. I was at a meeting yesterday about a major project where the old Friendship condos used to be between Coleman and St. Joseph. We have 2 exciting projects that are getting ready to kick off on Coleman Avenue. And it's the main street. That's what City Hall is. I wish we could design a way to get traffic direct from Highway 90 down to Coleman Avenue, like Bay St. Louis has with Main Street. But so there's a lot of different projects that we just need to. I hope people are patient. You know, as I meet with the city employees, I said, don't expect everything to change overnight. It's going to take time, but just remember that I'm looking out for you guys, and we're going to move the city forward in the right direction.
So talking about Katrina, and I mentioned when we were interviewed that Waveland really hasn't recovered in some ways from Katrina, right? You look at Coleman Avenue, and it's easy to say that certainly wasn't what it was before Katrina. So, you know, the population of Waveland was 8,361 at the beginning of 2005. At the beginning of 2006, we were 4,062, and right now we're somewhere just over 7,000, right? So we were 45% below where we were, now we're still 15% below where we were, and we annexed some territory, so we had people come in. When you talk about growth, and Jay wanted to put a disclaimer in here, so I'm going to do it for you, all right? We both agree we don't want to be Bay St. Louis, right? That's not a negative thing. Bay St. Louis is a wonderful place. Waveland just doesn't need to do that. What do you see that growth going forward as far as the identity of Waveland?
Well, the growth right now is south of railroad tracks. There's a lot of new homes being built south of the railroad tracks. Well, it makes sense because all of those houses were destroyed in Katrina. So that's where there is growth. We're having a lot of people move over from New Orleans, from Baton Rouge, from Lafayette. And let's face it, they come over, they visit, they enjoy what they see, they enjoy the lifestyle that we have, all of us who live here. And so the growth is going to come besides residential, the commercial growth, as I said, on Coleman Avenue. There's 2 projects I mentioned. I'm in real estate right now. Real estate agents are contacting me. Are those 2 projects, are they going to happen? Because I got investors that want to buy property on Coleman Avenue. I said those projects are going to happen. So if they want to move, they're going to move now before the prices go up. But along with that, we have to clean up Highway 90. The Orion Group came in and did a big study that was paid for by Mississippi Power and the city of Waveland. And one of the things they found was that we have, I think it was 54 letters went out this week for signage on Highway 90 for businesses that don't even exist anymore. So we need to clean up Highway 90. We need to, when people drive in from the Slidell area on 90 down on 603, they have to be impressed with what they see about Waveland. And we're going to move that way. So it's going to be an incentive for people to come start businesses. I mean, the whole country was built. We don't need the big box stores. The country was built on mom and pops. And so we can attract those people and make it economically feasible to come to Waveland.
All right, so there you go. Okay, so speaking of making it economically feasible, look, flood insurance is what it is. All insurances are what they are. So I know we're dealing with CRS ratings like everybody else. What are your thoughts here, and what do you feel like you can do about that to help people? Because that is going to be a major issue, as it already is. But it'll keep getting worse as it goes forward.
CRS ratings. It's a number from 1 to 10. Every number down from 10, you get a 5% discount on flood insurance. I just want to make sure everybody understands that. Under Mayor David Garcia, we had a CRS rating of 5. Our CRS rating now is 7. It had gone up to 8, but it's down to 7. So I've talked to some local engineers to work with them. FEMA has changed the brochures, the requirements to move. So it's not as easy to get down to a 5. But that's the goal, is to move down, to make it more, make flood insurance cheaper for the residents. I also met a guy during St. Clair's Seafood Festival that's working with the city of Gulfport to get them down to a 4. And that's really low. But he's willing, he lives in Waveland, and he's willing to work with me to get that CRS rating down. Along with that, I mean, there's some other ideas, but I don't know how. There's some talk about raising Beach Boulevard, and I just don't. I want to see what that looks like. I live on the beach, and my wife says, "How am I going to get out the driveway if they raise Beach Boulevard?" So, there's also a rumor that the flood elevation numbers are going to come down at the end of this year. We're at the end of the year, and I haven't seen that happen yet. So there's some things in the works.
And then just on a final note, as far as, all right, we have this growth, and growth, everybody wants growth. I mean, most people want growth, but everybody wants growth for the most part, but it has to be good growth. So how do you make sure that things are growing the way they're supposed to? And how do you enforce that? Because that has been an issue. In fact, talking to some of your constituents in the crowd, that's one of the things they wanted to talk about.
We have city ordinances in place. We've not done a very good job of enforcing those ordinances. I think if we follow the ordinance, we'll have good smart growth. Like Ted mentioned, Bay St. Louis is pretty crowded. I keep referring to the 2 projects on Coleman Avenue. We have to come up with a master plan for parking. There's a resident that spoke at the last meeting about parking. We know how it is in Bay St. Louis, and so we're going to come up with a master plan for parking. It's just not going to happen overnight. We just have to be patient. We can't turn away any potential businesses on Coleman, but they have to understand that our goal is to make life not to make life any more difficult for the residents of Waveland.
So we're going to turn this over to y'all in a minute because there's a good crowd here. So, but before that, is there anything else you want these folks to know before they start asking you questions?
No, I just want to recognize a couple of people that are here. Well, a couple of elected officials are here. And you can stand if you want, raise your hand, wave or something. Here we have the new alderman for Waveland Ward 1, Ms. Rhonda Gamble, who will be sworn in on January 3rd. We have Mr. Bobby Richardson, alderman from Ward 2, who I believe started his 3rd term in office. And then Mr. Scotty Adams was here, as the president of the Hancock County Board of Supervisors, but he had to step out to get back to work. So, thank you all for everybody for coming. I appreciate everybody that showed up today. And like Ted said, we're going to take some questions from the crowd.
All right, everybody, it's your turn. So what questions do you have for our mayor-elect? Yes, sir. All right, Don?
Jay, have you got any plans for approaching and what has been done about the empty corridor, the 2 buildings and the 2 corners on Highway 90 and Nicholson?
Don, thanks for bringing that up. I actually have a lunch meeting tomorrow with the people who own Claiborne Hill. The people that own Claiborne Hill purchased the old hotel, and they've had it demolished, as everybody can see. They're going to plant grass seed. It's going to be a nice corner for a while, but I have a lunch meeting to find out what their long-term plans are tomorrow. I do not know who currently owns the old Rite Aid building, but I plan on contacting that person and trying to work with them to incentivize people to come to Waveland and move into that building.
There's positive incentives and negative incentives. You have power in both. What other questions, John? Anybody else? That can't be it. We can't let a mayor-elect off that easy.
What's your thoughts on the marina project? Where it's at where you're standing on that?
Thanks, Chad. The marina project is something that I need to look at more closely. Currently, we don't have any renderings. And we don't have enough money to build it right now. The idea behind a marina was to jumpstart Coleman Avenue. If we get a marina down at Coleman Avenue, then we could bring businesses in. Well, the businesses are coming. So I'm not going to put the citizens at risk by spending money that we have reserves right now. We're not going to go into those reserves to build a project like that. We're going to have to get funding from the state. We've gotten like $2.3 million right now. The parking lot's $5 million. So we need to go out there. We have to decide maybe put it to the vote of the citizens. Do the citizens want a marina? And go from there. But until I see drawings and look at some studies on how it's going to affect the citizens, I really don't have I'm not for it or against it right now.
Well, speaking of Coleman Avenue in that area, I'm going to ask one. How about the pier? What's the situation on the pier? And there were some reasons it hasn't been able to be rebuilt. Can you talk about those?
I think every environmental study on the pier is complete right now. I expect permits to go out, to be issued. I expect bids to go out for reconstruction right after the first of the year. That's what I'm hearing. But, I still, right now, don't have direct contact with any officials other than local officials. So I can only go with what they tell me. But I think we'll see something happening with the pier probably in the first quarter of next year.
Anybody else?
Relative to law enforcement, do you have plans to keep the personnel and the structure that you already have in place and build upon it? Or do you have any type of plans to restructure?
I've been doing this like campaigning for 8 years. I don't hear any complaints about the police department. I don't foresee any changes to the police department. The police chief and I work closely together right now, and I think Mike's done a good job. I really don't see any changes coming to the police department. Like I said, we need to get some more people on the street. Those meth labs that used to be always up in a kill are now moved down into Waveland and into Bay St. Louis. But I think we busted 3 meth labs in the past 6 months. And so we need to have more visibility of the police out on the street.
What else? Anything else? Is that it? All right, well, we'll be around for a little while, but the Silver Slipper does need to get this room back by about 10. But look, we want to thank all of y'all for joining us. And on behalf of all the Hancock County Chamber, we wish all of you and your family a wonderful and Merry Christmas. Thank you.